If you are a true lover of hoops, then there is only one thing that you will think about when I say this word: March. The NCAA tournament is one of the best times of the year. Non-stop basketball, buzzer beaters, upset alerts, Cinderella teams making deep runs, and top teams getting knocked out earlier than anybody expected, breaking the hearts of millions of fans. So far, this March Madness has delivered on everything that it's promised: madness. But there is something going on in the background that is casting a pretty dark and big shadow on something that we've always known and loved. And if everything happening behind the scenes comes true, this could be the last NCAA tournament played the way that we've always known it: college kids versus college kids. It's not a rumor and it's not a loophole. It's a real legal shift that could open the door to one of the most drastic rule changes to a legacy event that has stayed exactly the same and that fans have enjoyed for the last 85 years. And the NCAA might not be able to stop it. But very quickly, before we get into this video, if you guys enjoy this type of content, all things basketball, make sure to hit that like button on this video. If you guys want to stick around, join my community, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers, trying to get monetized here on YouTube. And so right now, your support means the most to me. But with all that out of the way, let's talk hoops. This weekend has been great. One of my favorite weekends of the year every single year. But in between the non-stop basketball games, I stumbled upon this Sportico article by Michael McCann, and the title of it was "The Last March Madness Dance Without Former NBA Pros." And, that title piqued my interest like I feel like it would for many. In the whole topic about pro players returning to college, over these last couple years, I've heard the stories, I've heard the murmurs, but this article really put into perspective, how close we actually could be from something like this blowing wide open in mass amounts of ex-pros or ex-European basketball players coming back to play college basketball again. Now, this wouldn't even be a thing like 5 or 10 years ago, but recently the NCAA and college sports as a whole, the landscape has changed dramatically. With the introduction of NIL and revenue sharing, allowing, student athletes to get paid for their services, it's basically turned these students into employees, and at the same time turning the NCAA into the Wild West. The NCAA has been in a legal war for years now. Players are getting paid, and in some states they are technically being considered employees. And some guys are using that to push the boundaries farther than we've ever seen. And one of the biggest examples of that is happening in college basketball, with ex-NBA players and ex-pro basketball players wanting to come back and play in the NCAA again. And if you're sitting there like, yeah, okay, no way, it's already happened. James Nnaji was a second-round pick from the Detroit Pistons in the 2023 NBA draft. He never signed a contract with the team and never played for them, and ultimately went and took his talents to Spain and played professional basketball there. But this past year, he became the first ever NBA draft pick to be cleared by the NCAA. And on Christmas Eve, he signed with the Baylor Bears. Now, there's a reason why you might have never heard of this story. Well, it's because the Baylor Bears and James Nnaji kind of suck. In his time this season with Baylor, he averaged 1.5 points and 2.2 rebounds and really barely got any playing time, while Baylor was like 500 this year and didn't even get close to sniffing the NCAA tournament. But he is not the main character in this story. The main character is Charles Bediako. Bediako was a former two-way NBA player, which meant he had a contract where he split time between the NBA's G League and the actual NBA. Well, this past year, he tried to return to Alabama, at one time even getting a temporary restraining order in playing in the month of January 2026. Now, in February, he ultimately ended up losing his court case and basically getting kicked out of the NCAA again, but he submitted an appeal for his case, and that appeal is ongoing. The NCAA ultimately said that Bediako, although was signed to just a two-way contract, that is technically still an NBA contract, which doesn't fit their parameters when it comes to eligibility rules. But Bediako is coming back to that and saying, this is an antitrust violation. If you don't know, here is how the NCAA rules break down when it comes to this crazy scenario. If you were an NBA draft pick, but you were never signed, then technically you are still eligible to go play in college. If you're a G League player that has never signed a real NBA contract or played with an NBA team, you're technically still eligible to go back to college. But if you've signed an actual NBA contract, then no, you're not going back to college for now. And this is all happening truly because of the introduction of NIL and revenue sharing. Because before that, the NCAA limited eligibility to 4 seasons in 5 years. And this made sense because, players weren't being paid. After all, college athletes were just students. They were college students, meaning, they typically graduate in 4 or 5 years and then move on to their next phase of life. College sports were looked at, as an amateur league or a stepping stone before professional sports. But now there's a massive legal hurdle that the NCAA has to try and jump over because, with the new age of college sports where college athletes are getting paid via NIL deals and revenue sharing, it's starting to resemble professional sports more and more. And so it's turning from like a stepping stone or a transitional league into a minor league for professional athletes. And now where colleges can pay their athletes up to 22% of their revenue along with these third-party NIL deals, there are a lot of cases where, an average to good NCAA athlete is making millions of dollars. And so it's understandable, why some of these players want to stretch their eligibility as far as they possibly can. Or in this case, where we're seeing guys who weren't talented enough to make it in professional sports leagues coming back down to the NCAA where, talent and competition are less fierce and trying to get a cut of that revenue. And those two guys are just the tip of the iceberg, because let's transition over to college football real quick. Heisman finalist Diego Pavia sued the NCAA in 2024 to try and play beyond his eligibility and ultimately won the suit and played in the 2025 season. But even crazier is over 60 NCAA athletes at this point have brought on similar lawsuits. In Bediako's case is an extension of Pavia's case, but the result of Bediako's appeal could completely change college sports as we know it. The big issue is that judges are split right now on what they think about the NCAA's eligibility rules. Some believe that it should be the way it's always been. College athletes should be in college 4 seasons, 5 years, that's it. While others, with all the new changes coming to college sports, think that they should kind of open up the eligibility a little bit more. At the same time, the NCAA, while not deeming NBA players eligible, have deemed G League players eligible, but also pro-European basketball players eligible to come back to college, as well as professional hockey players to come back and play college hockey. And so a lot of judges could see that and think, they're just cherry picking right now. If you're going to allow, professional hockey players to come back and play college hockey, why are we not doing the same thing with the NBA or with the NFL? And so ultimately, if Bediako's case gets ruled in his favor and he's allowed to come back to Alabama after signing technically an NBA contract, that opens up the floodgates for any ex-NBA player that has signed an NBA contract or a two-way contract. If they're not making money or they're not happy with their compensation, could decide to try and come back and play college sports. And personally for me, depending on what happens, if NBA players or ex-pro players are able to come back and play college basketball, that is a ginormous L in my opinion, and completely ruins the heart and spirit of college basketball. And ultimately, I think the NCAA just completely screwed up by rushing, these NIL changes and these revenue sharing changes, basically completely changing how college sports are looked at without really thinking about, the effects of this, barely putting in any regulations or any rules that are, keeping colleges or coaches or athletes from gaming the system like we're kind of seeing right now. I think down the line, if this becomes a real thing, this is going to be a huge stain on college sports because, it's not looked at as college sports anymore. It's looked at as a minor league of, whatever professional league you're looking at based on the sport. And it kind of ruins that watchability or that excitement for a lot of fans that love the spirit and purity of college sports. Nothing is set in stone right now. What looks like is going to happen for the near future is just more and more litigation, more and more decisions on, what NCAA eligibility means and who is ultimately eligible and who can play. But at the end of the day, what is happening right now with college sports could just be a sneak peek of what's to come. But let me know down below what you guys think of all this. Are you in favor of, ex-pro athletes coming back and playing college sports, or are you a college sports purist? Personally, for me, I lean more towards the purist take, but, if you disagree and you are in favor of this, let me know because I want to know, why do you feel the way that you feel? Also, if you guys made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you guys so much for watching. But second of all, you guys have made it this far. You obviously liked the video, so like the video. And also, again, if you guys want to stick around, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's super easy to do. It's free, and you can change your mind if you want to. I would really appreciate it and love to have you. And lastly, if you want to see any more content from me, YouTube actually thinks you'll like this video right here. So once this video wraps up, make sure to go click on that, and you can see another piece of great basketball content that I'm sure you'll enjoy. But that's really all I got for today, guys. So as always, peace and love.